There was an artist who wanted to paint the most beautiful portrait ever. And so he thought he would seek some advice about how he could do it or what would be the theme. And he asked a priest what he thought was the most beautiful thing in the world. And the priest answered, I think that it's faith. So when I look into the eyes of adults and children, and I see their faith, and I see them living that faith, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Then he asked a young woman who had recently been married, what do you think is the most beautiful thing in the world? And she answered, I think the most beautiful thing in the world is love, because love can turn even poverty into richness. It can turn tears into sweetness. I think love is the most beautiful thing. And then finally she asked a soldier what he thought was the most beautiful thing. And he said, I think it's peace, because war is so ugly, and peace is the most beautiful thing in the world. So the artist was thinking, faith, love, and peace, how can I paint that? And he went home, and as he arrived there, he looked into the eyes of his children, and he saw faith in the eyes of his children. And then he looked into the eyes of his wife, and he saw love. And then looking around, he saw that faith and love had brought peace into their home. And he thought, that's the most beautiful thing in the world. And so he painted a portrait of his family and called it home. Faith, love, and peace. Those seem to be the three qualities that we see in the readings today even. The Holy Family living in faith, love, and peace. They were in total poverty. They didn't even have a home to have the child Jesus born in, and yet they had faith and trust in God. And peace came because they were centered on Christ. The peace and the faith could be strong because they were centered on Jesus Christ. And so what does that say for us? I think for myself, for all of us, we need to ask that question on the Feast of the Holy Family. Do we find faith, peace, and love in our lives? In our homes and the people that we associate with? Do we find faith? Practicing our faith, coming to Mass every Sunday, taking time to pray every day, doing things that we know God wants us to do, living that faith. And then certainly love. We can hold grudges. We can refuse to forgive. We can even cause pain to people that have hurt us, so we refuse to forget past hurts. That isn't what love does. Love forgives. Love wants to be like Christ and forgive. And finally, peace. We have to radiate peace about us. That's what Jesus taught in the Beatitudes, to radiate peace about us. Are peaceful more people because they've encountered me? Sometimes not, I think. But I have to check on myself to make sure that's that I have to change that. If people are more peaceful because of my encounter with them, or if people are more peaceful every time they go home and encounter their family, then that's the kind of peace that produces holy families. So I think the Feast of the Holy Family calls all of us, even if we live with several people that are not our family or whatever way we are associate, there needs to be faith, love, and peace. And if that is there, then we're radiating the faith, love, and peace that Jesus brought into the world. So today's feast is a reminder, it's very close to home, this particular feast day of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And we see that just because they had faith, love, and peace, and it was so strong, they also had suffering. They also had tensions. You remember when they lost Jesus in the temple? Our Blessed Mother was upset with him. Don't you know your father and I have been looking for you for 3 days? If you have a child that was ever lost, you know what she was feeling. And yet she did it in such a way, she just encountered him. And the two of them remained at peace. He didn't sass back to her. He just simply said, I need to be in my Father's house. And she pondered that in her heart. So we see that they had sickness, they had trouble, they had suffering, but at the same time there was faith, love, and peace. And that's what makes it all possible to live through. The opening prayer was that may we have the faith and the peace of Christ in our lives, so that one day we may enjoy that faith, love, and peace in eternity. That should be our prayer today at this Mass.